Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our daily live coverages on the latest developments in Kuwait, Bahrain, and the wider Gulf region, as well as the latest updates concerning the war with Iran. The region enters another day of escalation, with the exchange of strikes between the United States and Iran continuing for the second day, following the downing of a U.S. Apache helicopter near the Strait of Hormuz. Washington then launched strikes inside Iran, claiming they targeted military surveillance capabilities, communication systems, and air defense sites. In response, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard announced it had targeted U.S. sites in Kuwait, Bahrain, and Jordan, while Washington stated that the attacks did not cause significant damage to its facilities. In today's coverage, we're joined from Bahrain by Ahda El Sayed, a writer and former president of the Bahrain Journalists Association, to discuss the ongoing attacks on Kuwait and Bahrain, the options available to the Gulf Cooperation Council countries, and the future of Gulf-Iranian relations. Then from Pakistan, we're joined by Abdurrahman Al-Salehi, a political analyst, to discuss Islamabad's role in mediation efforts and the impact of the war on Pakistan and the wider region. Then from London, we will be joined by Dr. Saeed Shihata, Professor of International Relations at the University of London, who will analyze the international and legal dimensions of the statements by the 22 countries and maritime security. Then from Washington, we'll be joined by Abdurrahman Yusuf, a journalist and political analyst, to discuss Trump's statements, the Congress's inflation, and the internal situation in the U.S. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, the Gulf states find themselves once again at the heart of the escalating tensions between Washington and Tehran. In Kuwait, airspace was temporarily closed as a precautionary measure before authorities announced the return of air traffic to normal and the resumption of operations at Kuwait International Airport according to schedule. Meanwhile, in Bahrain, the Ministry of Interior reported that a child sustained minor injuries after debris from intercepted drones fell, damaging homes and vehicles in residential areas. In the vicinity of Oman and the Gulf of Oman, concerns are mounting regarding the security of tankers and maritime navigation following the killing of 3 Indian sailors in a U.S. military operation targeting a tanker off the coast of Oman, as part of Washington's efforts to prevent the transfer of oil linked to Iran. These developments raise fundamental questions. What options do the Gulf Cooperation Council states have? How can they protect their airspace, territorial waters, and civilian infrastructure? As well as, is it possible to still build a stable Gulf-Iranian relationship after this round of escalation? More on that in this report.
From Manama, the GCC Council of Ministers issued a strongly worded statement following its 67th meeting at a time when it stated that it had witnessed new Iranian attacks with drones and ballistic missiles targeting the Kingdom of Bahrain, the State of Kuwait, and the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. The Council condemned in the strongest terms these actions, deeming them an aggression against the sovereignty of the GCC states and the security of their peoples, and a violation of international law, the UN Charter, the principles of the United Nations, and good neighborliness. This was a direct political and security message, emphasizing that the security of the GCC states is indivisible and that any attack on one of its member states is an attack on all of them. The Council also reiterated its complete solidarity and unwavering support for Bahrain, Kuwait, and Jordan. To reassure the public and residents, the Council affirmed that the GCC's defense capabilities, missions, and systems are fully prepared to confront these attacks and maintain a high level of readiness. It emphasized that GCC leadership is committed to protecting the region's security and stability. The Council did not stop at condemnation. It also stressed the legitimate right of the GCC states to self-defense, both individually and collectively, and to respond with all legitimate means in accordance with Article 50 of the UN Charter. It also bears full responsibility for these actions and their repercussions on regional security, international navigation, and energy supplies, declaring its cessation and an end to targeting the Council, its interests, and its citizens. Through international procedures, the Security Council and the international community were called upon to condemn what was described as aggression and hold its perpetrators accountable, including those responsible for preserving sovereignty and peace on my behalf. However, the new covenant remains committed to the Gulf states' choice of peace, good neighborliness, and solutions. But it raises a fundamental question. How can future relations be built amidst such differences? The message summarizes the equation of distance. The door to dialogue is open, but Gulf security is a red line.
Joining us from Bahrain via Zoom is the former president of the Bahrain Journalists Association, Ahdiya El Sayed, who is closely following the latest developments from Bahrain and the wider region amid the ongoing tensions. Hello, Mrs. Sayed. Thank you for joining us today, ma'am. Let's start with our first question.
Me.
Of course, ma'am. What is the significance of this statement that was issued by the Public Service Council in Manama, and consequently the language that was used in the statement?
If you may allow me first, I'd like to convey my condolences to the families of the people who have so far been butchered and martyred by the terrorist Ayatollah regime in Kuwait and other Gulf countries. And all our feelings goes to our heroes who are defending our lands against the atrocities that are being practiced by the Ayatollah regime. The statements are very important, of course, at this stage, but I do believe that stronger stances need to be taken against the terrorist regime that is continuously targeting us during the time of negotiations. It continues to do so, whether directly or through its militias and terrorist cells. So I believe, yes, the statements are very important. They show that Gulf countries have a unified stance, but I would like to see unified stances when it comes to actions being taken against Iran to stop its bullying of the region and spreading terrorism in the region.
Now, ma'am, as you mentioned, you would like to see action instead of words. And earlier in this conflict, we saw Bahrain push a proposal, or a resolution rather, in the United Nations to secure and guarantee maritime trade traffic. Consequently, that resolution did not pass. But are we seeing any more efforts from Bahrain to put sort of international pressure on Iran?
Very good question. Bahrain is exerting utmost diplomatic efforts, but the situation here is much more complicated. We are not dealing with a state. Iran is not a legitimate state. Iran is being run by thugs, by terrorists. How can you negotiate or reach a deal with people who are only attempting to harm you? So we are not going to reach any agreement with Iran when it comes to Hormuz. We are not going to reach any agreement with Iran when it comes to the safety and security of our nations. We are simply dealing with 47 years of terror. We are dealing with people other parties talk to and negotiate with, and then we end up having their rockets and drones targeting our airports, our people, attempting to kill us, attempting to destroy our infrastructure, as they destroyed their own people and killed 40,000 people within 2 days. They want to do that to our countries too. They saw that our countries were countries that constructed. They are a nation that destructed. This Ayatollah regime is a destructive militia. Nothing will happen. Diplomatic efforts are very well respected, sir. We all respect that because I personally am an advocate for peace. But with this regime, you cannot have peace. You had 47 years of funding militias and their terrorist cells in our countries. We got these cells arrested in our countries. We gave people the benefit of the doubt, respect for their religious practices. We embraced everyone, but some unfortunately abused the freedom that they were given. They got trained in countries, and then they came back and created cells to target the security of our own people. That led to death of innocent people. What happened just a few weeks ago when the IRGC attempted to come into Kuwait, it is a very big deal, because this means that they are still dealing with people in the inside. And Kuwait, I have to say this, is dealing with the situation in a very firm and strong manner. Well done. You are in good hands. Your forces are strong. Your country is a strong country. Your leadership is strong and is capable of protecting you. But the problem here is that you have around you, the neighbors that you have are militias that want to kill. So this will eventually end. Diplomatic talks, I'm not optimistic about. I should have been, I do understand, but I'm not. We are not dealing with people who understand diplomacy, people who announced that on the day of ceasefire, they announced ceasefire and then they continue to target Bahrain, Kuwait, and the United Arab Emirates. So we're not dealing with, we're dealing with people who want to sabotage everything that we have done. What happened at Kuwait airport, can that ever be forgettable? What's been happening to Kuwait every few days of targeting, is that ever forgettable? With this regime, if you may allow me, there will be no peace talks. How can we as people forgive and forget? This regime has to collapse. They have to go. 47 years of funding terrorism has to stop.
Mr. Sayed, sorry to interrupt you, but when the Gulf Security Council says that all are unrecognized, does that mean that we're moving towards political solidarity, or is this a broader defensive tactic? What is the indication that we should take from this statement?
Broader defensive tactic. I agree with you. It's either this or that. Diplomatic efforts have failed. On the 28th of February 2026, the region changed. A neighbor that we all embraced because of our relations, because of the geographical location of Iran, we all embraced it. On the 28th of February, this neighbor decided to target us directly, not through its militias, but directly, not through Hashd al-Sha'bi and the Houthis and Hezbollah and all these players in the region. They decided to just get their drones and their missiles targeted towards us. So I do believe that there will be another strategy that Gulf countries are going, not all Gulf countries probably, but at least a block of Gulf countries will create something that will deal with the Iranian regime in a different manner. I think we have had enough is enough really, and we are capable of defending ourselves. We have strong allies in the region, the United States naming the United States at least. Our allies are supportive, but credit also goes to our forces, to your forces in Kuwait, to our forces in Bahrain, in UAE, in each and every country, in Saudi Arabia, in all the countries that were attacked. I do believe that we are going to go to another direction with Iran. These guys are not going to walk away without attempting until their last breath to destroy everything that we have built. There is no going out of this without, unfortunately,
Ma'am, in terms of diplomacy, we've seen that Iran has said that they are open to negotiations with the U.S. Hello, Mr. Sayed, can you still hear us right now? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it seems we're having some technical difficulties, so we'll take a short break and we'll try to reconnect with our guest, Ms. Ahdiya El Sayed from Bahrain. We'll be back after this.
Committed to protecting the region's security and stability. The Council did not stop at condemnation. It also stressed the legitimate right of the GCC states to self-defense, both individually and collectively, and to respond with all legitimate means in accordance with Article 50 of the UN Charter. It also bears full responsibility for these actions and their repercussions on regional.
قامت وزارة الشؤون ممثلة بقطاع التعاون بتشكيل 6 فرق ميدانية بواقع فريق لكل محافظة، وذلك للمتابعة اليومية للتأكد من كفاية المخزون الاستراتيجي. إن هذا العمل هو ثمرة تنسيق وتخطيط مسبق مع جهات الدولة المختصة التي وضعت لضمان استدامة الأمن الغذائي في مختلف الأوقات، ودامت الكويت بحفظ الله ورعايته.
الحرس الوطني قادة وقواته دائما على استعداد وجاهزية تامة لحماية الوطن بالتعاون مع زملاء السلاح في وزارتي الدفاع والداخلية وقوة الإطفاء العام، وتقديم الدعم والإسناد لكافة جهات الدولة، خاصة في أوقات الأزمات والطوارئ. ونسأل الله أن يحفظ وطننا الكويت من كل مكروه في ظل قيادته الرشيدة.
تؤكد جمعية الهلال الأحمر الكويتي جاهزيتها للاستجابة للطوارئ والكوارث في ظل الأوضاع الجيوسياسية الحاصلة في المنطقة. جمعية الهلال الأحمر الكويتي تعمل من ضمن منظومة إنسانية متكاملة مع مؤسسات دولة الكويت من حيث الاستجابة السريعة وتجهيز المتطوعين من ضمن أفرقة مختلفة للاستجابة للطوارئ في سرعة قصوى. يعد متطوعين جمعية الهلال الأحمر الكويتي من المتطوعين اللي تم تدريبهم مكثفاً في الإسعافات الأولية والاستجابة للكوارث والاستجابة الميدانية. تؤكد جمعية الهلال الأحمر الكويتي جاهزيتها الميدانية ورفع جاهزيتها من حيث الاستجابة للطوارئ في حالات اللي يتم ندائها. بالنسبة للمخزون الاستراتيجي لجمعية الهلال الأحمر الكويتي، فإحنا على أتم الاستعداد للاستجابة في حال النداء من قبل مؤسسات حكومة دولة الكويت.
الإدارة العامة للدفاع المدني على استعداد تام وجاهزية عالية، ونعمل وفق خطط مدروسة ومحدثة باستمرار لمواجهة أي طارئ، ونتابع مع الجهات الحكومية كل ما يخص احتياجاتها لضمان استمرار نظام سير العمل وعجلة الإنتاج وسير الحياة الطبيعية، ونقول للجميع سلامتكم أولويتنا. الإدارة العامة للدفاع المدني على استعداد تام وجاهزية عالية، ونعمل وفق خطط مدروسة ومحدثة باستمرار لمواجهة أي طارئ، ونتابع مع الجهات الحكومية كل ما يخص احتياجاتها لضمان استمرار نظام سير العمل وعجلة الإنتاج وسير الحياة الطبيعية، ونقول للجميع سلامتكم أولويتنا.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And now we'll be reconnected with our guest, the former head of Bahrain's Journalists Association, Ehdi El Sayed. Hello, Mrs. Sayed. We were just speaking about diplomacy. Despite the last few nights of attacks, we've heard from Iran that they are still open to negotiations, as well as reports coming from Qatar that they had proposed a trilateral meeting with Iran and the US. But Iran had declined to join this meeting and continue negotiations. Do you believe that the latest round of escalations has maybe closed the door on diplomacy? Is this sort of to push Iran into a position in negotiations?
100%. They have closed all doors. They closed it on the 28th of February. We had relations with that state. We had diplomatic ties with that state. A state that claims to be an Islamic republic attacked Islamic countries. That closed, and then when they started attacking us, we were open to negotiations because we want peace in our region. We don't want people to be harmed. The difference between our leadership and their leadership is that our leaderships protect people. They protect citizens, they protect residents, they protect everyone. They don't want any loss of life. But the difference is huge between us and them. We protect, they kill. Therefore, I do not believe that negotiations, diplomacy will work. The way they attacked Bahrain early hours of this morning, does it indicate that this militia in Iran is negotiating? This militia in Iran says it's targeting US bases. Manama and Hamad are not US bases. This militia is targeting us as people in the Gulf, our countries, our land. Kuwait International Airport is not US base. So no negotiations will work with Iran. It has failed. It has failed since 28th of February. Unfortunately, I was one of the people who did not believe that even the negotiations that were happening in Pakistan will work. It was wishful thinking to want to believe that it will work, because you want an end to this. You want an end to rockets and missiles on their head. But Iran, if you may allow me, tested its own capabilities since 28th of February, but tested ours too. We were very capable of defending our countries thanks to our forces. They did a great job. So Iran now knows that a bunch of missiles and drones can be dealt with. What we care about now is protecting people's lives. Infrastructure can be built, companies can be repaired, everything can be fixed. A loss of life to our leadership means a lot, and this is what our country is attempting to do. To answer your question, no, I think that anything to do with negotiations, peace talks with Iran has ended. What's next? I have no idea, but I do believe that the United States will escalate further, and we do see signs of that. Iran closed the doors for negotiation very long time ago. Here where I sit, if you may allow me, on the night that they said ceasefire, from where I was sitting, I was live on air speaking to one of our TV channels, and live on air, ceasefire was announced and Bahrain was being targeted. There is no way that you can negotiate with people who lie, who are capable of terrorism for around decades.
Mrs. Sayed, I apologize for interrupting you, but unfortunately, due to time constraints, that's all the time we have for this interview now. Hopefully, we can continue our discussion sometime in the future. But thank you for joining us, ma'am, and sharing the time to shed light on the developments coming out of Bahrain.
Thank you very much.
Of course. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the former president of the Bahrain Journalists Association, Ahdiya Al-Sayed. Now, as tensions rise between Washington and Tehran, Pakistan is trying to keep diplomatic channels open. Islamabad says communication through its mediation track remains active, while coordination with Turkey and Qatar continues in an effort to prevent a wider regional confrontation. More on that in this report.
Amid renewed regional escalation between Washington and Tehran, Pakistan is trying to reinforce its position as a mediator that does not want the door to negotiations to close. Pakistan's foreign ministry says diplomatic communication channels between the United States and Iran through Islamabad remain open. It also says mediation efforts are continuing in coordination with regional partners, including Qatar and Turkey. Islamabad's position comes after new U.S. strikes on sites inside Iran, which Washington described as defensive, and after Iran announced a response targeting U.S. military positions in the region. Between strikes and counterstrikes, Pakistan is warning that a wider confrontation would not only threaten security in the Gulf, but would also place greater pressure on the Middle East and South Asia, two regions where security, energy, trade, and borders are deeply connected. For weeks, Pakistan has been trying to turn direct and indirect contacts into a path that could lead to a ceasefire, or at least reduce the level of confrontation. Islamabad is relying on relations that allow it to speak with more than one side, at a time when trust between Washington and Tehran appears to be at one of its lowest points. Pakistan's foreign ministry spokesperson stressed that the country has not lost hope in achieving a diplomatic breakthrough, calling for a comprehensive negotiated settlement to the outstanding issues. In the same context, Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Mohammad Shaqdar discussed regional developments with his Turkish counterpart, Hakan Fidan. Both sides emphasized the importance of restraint, avoiding further escalation, and keeping dialogue as the least costly path to prevent the crisis from sliding into a broader confrontation. But the success of this mediation will depend on whether the parties are willing to stop reciprocal attacks and accept a period of de-escalation before any political understanding. Pakistan has channels of communication, but it does not alone hold the decision of war or peace. For now, Islamabad's mission appears to be preventing the collapse of diplomacy before seeking a final agreement to end the crisis.
في ظل الأوضاع الراهنة معكم اليوم وزارة التجارة والصناعة المعنية في ملف الأمن الغذائي. اليوم نطمنكم بأن الوضع التمويني مستقر تماما ولا يوجد أي نقص في المواد الغذائية الأساسية. كذلك حركة الأسواق طبيعية والسلع متوفرة في نقاط البيع والمخازن بشكل منتظم. إنتاج المياه في المصانع المحلية مستمر على مدار الساعة لضمان تلبية احتياجات الجميع. سلاسل الإمداد تعمل بشكل طبيعي وسلس ولا توجد أي عوائق في تدفق السلع إلى الأسواق. كما أن الأسواق المركزية وجميع نقاط البيع تعمل بشكل طبيعي والجمعيات التعاونية تواصل نشاطها المعتاد دون أي تأثير. ونؤكد على الجاهزية الكاملة لخطط الطوارئ مع استمرار فرق الرقابة التجارية في متابعة الأسواق ميدانيا بشكل يومي لضمان استقرار الأسعار وتوفر السلع الأساسية فيها. لذلك اليوم احنا نطمنكم ونبشركم بأن الأمور طيبة إن شاء الله ويحافظ الله.
منظومة الاتصالات بالكويت شغالة بكفاءة عالية ولله الحمد، والهيئة العامة للاتصالات وتقنية المعلومات مستعدة لأي طارئ لا قدر الله. في ظل التوترات اللي تمر فيها المنطقة فعلنا خطط الطوارئ وعززنا التعاون مع الجهات المعنية عشان نضمن استقرار الخدمات الرقمية وسرعة الاستجابة لأي مستجد. الوضع تحت المتابعة وكل الجهات المختصة على أتم الجاهزية. عسى الله يحفظ الكويت وأهلها.
الإدارة العامة للدفاع المدني على استعداد تام وجاهزية عالية، ونعمل وفق خطط مدروسة ومحدثة باستمرار لمواجهة أي طارئ، ونتابع مع الجهات الحكومية كل ما يخص احتياجاتها لضمان استمرار نظام سير العمل وعجلة الإنتاج وسير الحياة الطبيعية. ونقول للجميع سلامتكم أولويتنا.
And now joining us from Islamabad, Pakistan via Zoom is Dr. Abdurrahman As-Salehi, a journalist and political analyst who will offer his insights on the current international crisis, assess its regional and global ramifications. Hello, Dr. Abdurrahman. Thank you for joining us again today, sir. Let's begin with our first question. Of course, sir. Let's start off with our first question. As we saw earlier in the report, Pakistan says that communication channels between Washington and Tehran via Islamabad remains open. Does this mean that both sides are still willing to negotiate despite the escalations that we've seen in the last few days?
Up to now, up to date, at least, I mean, what we have seen that and what we have noticed here from Islamabad, that they make intensive calls and diplomacy, connections and calls with different, countries and also different parties. Also, like what we have heard, also the military side of Pakistan, or the security also, here in Pakistan, either represented by the Minister of Interior or the army represented by the Asim Munir, that they have opened many backdoor channels with the Tehran, especially with Iran, so that they, and also with USA, so that they can at least bring the area more, de-escalated, right now. What we have seen that also, from all this, not only just they are trying, individually, they are trying as regional, like what we have seen, the communication of Islamabad with different countries helps, and also what we have seen also from Qatari, delegates, which was also there in Tehran as well. The European, countries, what we have seen, when they were here in Islamabad, they were, stressing on the escalations and the ceasefire, or the permanent ceasefire in the region. So still, before, yesterday, also the Asim Iftikhar, the representative of Pakistan in UN, he mentioned that we are in a continuous process, and we are, conducting many, connections and calls with all the, different people, and the other also he called the international community to help, for stabilization of the region at least, and the ceasefire. So what we have understood also today from Islamabad, that they are working on three mechanisms. The first one is they are now trying for ceasefire. Then they are, until this, succeeded, then they will go for the negotiations. Then for guarantees, discussing the guarantees, for both sides. Then the third step, which it is the last, it will be the negotiations. So before this happened, before this issue, the recent escalation in the region, people, they were, both parties, they were already in the negotiation, phase. Yes, up to date there is a negotiations, but it became more indirect, and it became like they are testing their red lines in clear way. They are testing their red lines. So who is going to give more, compromise on his red lines? That is what is going nowadays.
Dr. Abdurrahman, we understand that Pakistan affirms that it hasn't lost hope in achieving a diplomatic breakthrough. But can you explain to us what Pakistan can offer to ensure the success of this mediation? We understand that their relationships among the warring states puts it in this position that it will be the mediator.
Yeah, I told you that the Pakistan can they can give their trust, because it has a trust relation with Iran. This is one thing, and it has a very good access, at least to Washington, and that's what we have seen since last year, since the war, when Asim Munir visited the USA, and then they built a very good relation with especially with the Donald Trump, and then the administration of Donald Trump. And also it has a strategic and credible, allies, and what we can say brotherhood with the Gulf countries. So these all, factors at least makes Pakistan more necessary for this, mediations. And also beside that, Pakistan is a nuclear country. So as it is a nuclear country, so they have very experience, or rich experience basically, in the nuclear programs, how the safety of these programs, if in case they came for in advance, I mean, negotiations to discuss how to transfer the enriched uranium or how to destroy it or how to elevate it inside Iran. So there will be like a technical teams and the expert teams, maybe, from Pakistan as well as a mediator country, and also the infrastructures for their meeting and their discussions. I mean, it will be in Islamabad. So what they are giving, I mean, up to date at least, and what we have seen that they are giving based on their trust with the both, I mean, Iran and USA, and also the guarantees which they are trying to bring it at least from China so that this is as international guarantee, and definitely as Pakistan, enjoys a very good relations and excellent relations with the Gulf countries. So they give Iran like that a positive signal as you are, you are not disturbing the region, you are not bothering them. These people, I mean, the Middle East, Gulf countries, they are not going to harm you or something, because what we have seen that Gulf countries, they are looking for the developments and they are looking for stability of the region, despite that they are receiving some, missiles or drones or something like that, but still they are using the wisdom just, to have like, the area or the region to be de-escalated at least in this time.
Dr. Abdulrahman, in light of the latest escalations between the US and Iran, do you believe that the chances of a ceasefire and a lasting peace have been reduced or diminished? Or will this escalation push the parties towards dialogue? Because it seems that President Trump is trying to achieve escalation superiority or dominance to pressure Iran into negotiations once again. But we've seen from the last couple of months that hasn't worked as he planned.
Yeah, definitely, definitely at the end of the day, this, this escalation in the region will be de-escalated. And definitely they will, at the end of the war, there will be a peace. This is for sure, But for that, how much the cost people will pay and how much the region in general will pay from their stability. So Pakistan, from the first day they said that, okay, as you are going, for example, if you are going to fight now with each other, and at the end of the day you will come to the table from now and discuss your points on the table and make, be lenient or flexible on the table with each other is much better than, than destroying each other, than making the region unstable, and then after that you come for the discussion and peace talk. So there will be a dialogue, yes, maybe lengthy. Islamabad today believes even more than before. Like they were saying like maybe up to 1 year it will take this type of process. For bringing at least a full trust between both of them. At least they have to, to agree on some red lines. Either the sanctions with respect to Iran or the nuclear program and enriched uranium with respect to the USA. So it will take time, but here at least what we have seen, from, news from people here who are, close to the, like the leadership, they are saying that this escalation, it's calculated. It can be controlled. Yes, there is some, which became reached up to the threshold level, so that after that it will be like, expanding of the war in the region, but still it reached up to the, like the threshold level.
Now, sir, we understand that Pakistan has taken a very central role in terms of the mediations and negotiations between the two sides. But can you explain to us the nature of Qatar and Turkey's role alongside Pakistan? Is this coordination between the three of them, or are these multiple mediation tracks taking place?
No, definitely they have three coordinations. All the countries who are looking for to be a mediators or want to help. From the first day, that even USA, they mentioned that the exclusive mediator is Pakistan, and anyone wants to come for this mediations comes through Pakistan. Similar things also, Iran say that the only or the exclusive one, like the Pakistan one, and anyone will come like beside that, or helping this, supporting this mediations. We have seen also like the Qatari, officials from the beginning, they said that yes, there is like mediations from, from Qatar, but this mediations, it's a type of supporting to Iran, supporting to Pakistan, and we are working with Pakistan. For example, Pakistan will give like the legitimate diplomacy and like the central of this negotiations and the mediations. Qatar, maybe it will be used later on in the term of guarantees of the sanctions, maybe transferring amounts to Tehran, or in terms of the financial things. Turkey, for example, because it's like one of the biggest, countries or strongest countries, at least in the Middle East, and also it's the only country which is available in the NATO. So these countries, and other countries as well, we have seen, the Gulf countries also, they are working, in different ways. Egypt, for example, they are working also, as from the first day, they said that the 4 countries who are doing this type of mediations only, but yeah, Pakistan, it's on the, front, but the other countries also, they are with Pakistan. So all of them, they are completing each other towards one point, that is stability of the region. Now, looking for ceasefire, then they are looking for, stability of this war. So no war, no war anymore. And also then, and before this also, with the ceasefire, they don't want to open any new region for the war, at least for the Middle East, if they are really looking for, for a good, solutions. That's what Pakistan believes, and these people are believing as well.
Dr. Abdurrahman, the communication channels that are going through Pakistan, does this reflect a seriousness on the part of Washington and Tehran to return to dialogue, or is this perhaps political theater?
They will come back to the dialogue. Yeah, there is a serious, communications from Pakistan with them, and they are trying their level best to bring them. And what we have seen also, either from Trump, for example, announcements through social or wherever, and what we have seen also from Iranian people, both of them, they don't want to go to the war, but they don't know how to start basically a right discussions and a right, trust building, and the right, file to start with. Yeah, they know, they say that we are like, we can see that they are, both of them, they are tired from this. And both of them, they don't want basically to lose their credentials, at least with their own people. For example, for Tehran, if now, for example, they stop the war, in case, for example, the war has been stopped according to what USA wants from them, and that they have, for example, transferred the enriched uranium without, releasing their money or releasing this, flexibility of the sanctions on Iran. And then in the second day, we would see, protests against the revolution guards in Iran, and we'll see, maybe like popes in Iran. So they are, they have their own, perceptions for how to proceed in this, discussions or talk. In the same time, USA, they are looking for the achievements, and they are looking for the fast achievements for that. So in case, for example, they went or they go, for example, with Tehran for a type of agreement, while the nuclear program and enriched uranium is still there, so then why you have created all these wars, and why you have done all these types, for example, of destroying the infrastructure economy of USA? They will put the Republic Party, at least, in this type of situations. So it will be a problem for them. So Pakistan, what they are trying to do, and the countries, they are trying to find a way that, they can look like a winner, at least from front of their people. What we have heard also from that, in these 2 days, especially when Mohsen Naqawi, Wazir al-Dakhiliya, the Interior Minister of Pakistan, when he went to Iran, and also the Qatari, delegation there, they are trying with US, with Tehran, that please come, at least say something which, fulfill the ego of Trump. And then we will go for, a dialogue or some a common or signing on the memorandum of understanding, or which they have announced, But they understand that, I think, Iranians, if they go for this type, means that it's like a surrounder. So it became again issue. Yes, discussion is there. They will reach to such solutions, but they don't know how to reach to that solution.
Sir, we've seen in the past, at least, that there was some coordination between Iran and the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency. Recently, we've seen from the Board of Governors of the IAEA, who have passed a resolution demanding Iran to disclose the status of their enriched uranium and to allow inspections. We understand that the nuclear issue is a very sensitive thing in the negotiations with Tehran and Washington. Do you believe that this resolution from the IAEA will disrupt whatever mediation efforts are currently undergoing and whatever progress they've made so far?
Yeah, definitely it will. It will take time, especially for IAEA, for International Atomic Energy, organizations or authority. It will take time. They have very sensitive. I mean, from Tehran, at least from Tehran side or Iran side, they are very, sensitive about this. They are thinking that these people, they are only just surveying, or they are serving basically the West or the USA agenda. But what it will be done, I told you that they will make like the committee, for example, or the team of the International Atomic Energy people, they will be mixed. That's what, at least up to date, we understand. They will be mixed with maybe a team from Pakistan, a team from China as well, who are technical in these fields, and maybe from Russia or something. I mean, from the guarantee countries, which they will give guarantee to Iran and also to USA that if we are inside this project, I mean, we have to finish it properly. So there is some discussions in that.
So, sir, just to clarify, you mentioned that technical teams from countries such as Pakistan and China will be involved to monitor the situation of the enriched uranium. Does this mean a diminishing of the IAEA and, let's say, other international organizations, a diminishing of their role when dealing with these geopolitical tensions?
Basically, they are basically like, they will monitor that. I mean, they will be like monitoring when they're destroying or elevating the enriched uranium if it happens in Iran, or at least they will be, like a supportive. Okay, international atomic energy, atomic organizations will be there. Yes. They will do their work, properly. That at least what it's, according to their roles and specific jobs, which or tasks there. But the US, the China and Pakistan and these countries, they will be also like the monitoring part. They are the monitoring part basically on this type of agreements, either in within the 60 days or within, for example, maybe for a specific time or maybe for specific years, because some people, they believe that, the technicals, technically, they believe that, if they want to destroy the complete nuclear program, for example, in Iran, maybe it will take, like 1 or 2 years, maybe, it needs, because you have to take it in a very safe way. You have to transfer it. You have to, you have to do many things in that. So these teams, definitely, they will be, the international atomic energy organizations teams will be mixed, at least, with some teams from the countries which I mentioned, China, Pakistan, and we don't know which country, maybe also from US. Like, okay, we are with you, and so everything will be like transparent, front of all parties and the international community as well.
Sir, in your opinion, what are the conditions that are necessary for the success of Pakistani or any mediation efforts in preventing any further escalation in the confrontation?
Keeping negotiations, at least at this time, keep trying, for these two, because these two, for these two parties, these two, Iran and USA, they have untrusted level. They have no trust for 47 years. That means if we, for example, Pakistan believes that if they leave, for example, the situation, the region as it is, without any mediations, so the World War III will be there. That's why here, I mean, what we heard at least that we have stopped the World War III, and this is one of our biggest achievements, at least they look. But this achievement, it's not succeeded, I mean, completely yet. It needs a lot of things and a lot of efforts and a lot of countries, for example, to support either Pakistan or support other countries. And in my opinion, that as the Gulf countries calm, they did not, enter to this, I mean, war. As there is no, like, for example, forces on the ground goes to Iran, at least in this time. So everything is controlled, and it can be in this case, and it can be again to the negotiations. But if these things, for example, if another third, for example, in third international party enter to this, I mean, with wrong calculations, so the area will be again, I mean, it will be fired again, I mean, and people, they will be like, they will suffer, I mean, from South Asia up to the Middle East. So this is, I mean, one point. Second point, as Russia and China, they are also willing that to escalate the fighting in the region. I mean, escalation and stability of the region. So everything, I mean, at least it will continue as it is. No war, no peace, like what we have seen. What we have seen only up to date, it's a type of surgical strikes, surgical attacks, something like that, but not destroying, for example, everything, at least in the cities. Or yes, Trump is saying that he is going to destroy the infrastructure, electricity, something, but at least up to now we have seen, like limited. That's why, I understand that sometimes when he say that up to now we did not start the real war. Yes, it's USA, it's like, a powerful country, and they need to deal with it, like, I mean, in a good way, so that the mediators, I mean, they have to deal with both of them so that they can, I mean, decouple these types of puzzles, and the complications between these countries, step by step. So the best way now is ceasefire before anything. And then the second one, it's, how to build the trusts. What we heard that, I mean, or I read it somewhere, that if, for example, for Russia, one day of USA busy in Middle East, it is one day far from Ukraine or from other countries, I mean, which it's related to Russia. And China also same thing. Yes, despite that they are losing a lot, I mean, of their trades or something, but one day for USA is busy in the Middle East, it's one day far from Taiwan or the other, I mean, issues related to China. So this is a very difficult, I mean, game that Pakistan are playing to be a very good, strategic partner with China. And it's good with, it has a good relation with Russia, and it has a good relation with USA. And it has also, again, with Tehran, with Iran, and it has excellent relations with the Gulf countries. This makes Pakistan like a central, a central hub for bringing all of them, and this will be succeeded. This is my opinion. At least they will succeed in a very soon way.
Dr. Abdurrahman, recently we've seen, before this conflict even started, but growing and deepening of ties between Pakistan and other countries in the Gulf region and the Middle East. What can you tell us about the reports of growing relations between Lebanon and Pakistan, particularly the military relationship between these two?
Yeah, this again here, this is interesting point, that you have raised. I mean, what we have seen at least, like the commander of Lebanon army, he was here, and they were discussing like how to, I mean, go for, future projects, how to train, I mean, the the Lebanese, soldiers here in the Pakistan Army Academy or Naval Academy or Air Force College Academy, or even, I mean, in different places here in Pakistan. And also then how to train them and how to make like bigger, I mean, what we have seen that one of the statements of, I mean, of the army, I mean, people here, they said that they are willing to start, I mean, their training maybe in Lebanon. So this is one file. I mean, this file is not far. I mean, because there is a discussion regarding Lebanon inside the MOU, which they are going to sign it. They were going to sign it. Yes, Iran wants the file to be, kept as one of its cards, so that instead of just all the time for example, attacking my nuclear program, No, Iran is available there. I mean, Lebanon is available there. And I have another file in my hand still, and this file is still active. And in the same time, what we have seen, USA and in Israel, in UK, they made like, communications and meeting between the Israeli delegations and the Lebanese delegations so that they keep the file of Lebanon as a separate. In my opinion, I think this also is also people, they are working on this track. What we have seen from yesterday, for example, before yesterday here, at least in Islamabad, there was like these types of meeting of the army commanders of Pakistan and Lebanon. And also we have seen that also yesterday, for example, Mohammed bin Salman, he ordered that to open the trade between, for the goods of Lebanon to be released to Saudi Arabia, according to the directions or request of the Lebanese president.
Dr. Abdurrahman, unfortunately, that's all the time we have in this segment of our coverage. I'd just like to thank you for taking the time to help us break down the latest in the escalations that have happened here in the Middle East, as well as breaking down the mediation efforts happening in the background, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Dr. Abdurrahman Al-Salhi, a journalist and political analyst from Pakistan. We'll continue our live coverage, but we'll take a short break. We'll be back after that. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And now to analyze the international and legal dimensions of the escalation and the statement issued by 22 countries against Iran, we are joined via Zoom by Dr. Saeed Shehata, a professor of international relations at the University of London. Hello, Professor. Thank you for joining us today, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Sir, let's start off with our first question. How do you interpret the current international landscape? The strikes on Iran, the Iranian retaliation in the Gulf and Jordan, as well as the statement from 22 countries against the Iranian security agencies?
The Western countries led by the United States try to build pressure on Iran in order to find a deal to end the current conflict, because it has disastrous ramifications on the international economy and international stability. So there is two tracks. The first track is to put pressure regarding the nuclear program through the resolution which passed by the International Atomic Energy Agency,
IAEA.
Yeah, sorry, the abbreviation of it. So 21 countries voted for the resolution. 3 countries opposed it: China, Russia, Niger, and 10 countries abstained. So the resolution asking Iran to cooperate with the organization, the IAEA, to comply with commitment to inspect the enriched uranium, the stockpile of 440 kilogram, which is enriched up to 60% purity and is very close to produce a nuclear bomb. So they try to urge Iran to cooperate with the organization to inspect the stockpile. In addition to that, to inspect the facilities. We know there is 3 facilities were hit hard: Isfahan, Fordo, and Natanz. All of these 3 were hit last June and was hit hardly, but no one knows the damage, but it seems the damage is very high. So they try to inspect these areas, but Iran refusing that. Iran saying it is whitewashing military aggression. It's a pressure on Iran. They don't talk with the reason. They don't admit the aggression of the American and Israeli on Iran on 28th of February. So the resolution put pressure on Iran, on the international community. Iranians try to say they are cooperating, but the situation is not helping them to do that. So there is 2 different positions. The other one is escalation between the Americans and the Iranians. The American hit several military targets in Iran. Iran replied by targeting bases in the Gulf and Jordan. So this kind of escalation and the pressure on Iran show the complication of the current situation, shows it's very difficult. It's getting more complication when you add the IAEA resolution with the escalation, military escalation, and the no progress on the negotiation. All of that put a gloomy picture of what's happening now in the Middle East. Many countries want to end this conflict because the problem of the oil prices, inflation, the prices, the poor countries regarding the fertilizers and food prices. So all of that, but the picture is very complicated. So to intertwine the 2 issues, the military level and the nuclear level, it makes the situation very complicated, and it gives like negative indication of something good will happen soon, unfortunately.
Sir, on that military aspect, are we facing strictly a military crisis, or is this going to become an international security crisis? As we've seen from President Trump, his statements on a ceasefire in this part of the world just means less shooting. Is that an indication that that will be the way this conflict evolves? Brief and simple tit-for-tat strikes every few weeks? And this sets a new precedent in the region now, that this will become the new normal.
I think it cannot go for longer. It might be for a few weeks, but if it gets longer, it will affect the American president himself. There is pressure and there is opposition of the war in Iran from even some Republicans. You know, like there was a resolution, draft resolution coming out from the House of the the American Congress, one of the chambers of the American Congress, asking for the American president to restrict his power for the war. In addition to that, the prices of food, the prices of oil, and there is the midterm elections in America in November, and there is prediction the president will lose the majority he has in the two chambers in the Congress. So it's very dangerous situation. So I don't think it will take for long, but unfortunately it will take for a few weeks, but also the few weeks have like negative consequences on the international economy, on the stability of the region, on the aviation, and on many things. So I think it can take weeks, but I think it will not take months, because the American president will know quite well if it will drag until very close to November, he will be affected negatively and he will lose votes. And I think he will not, gamble to do that. So it is security threat. It is problem. Especially Iran said the Hormuz Strait was closed because there were reports of the last few days there is some ships going through, so there is some ease in the Strait of Hormuz. But after the recent escalation between Iran and the United States, Iran announced it's closed, and the American struck several ships recently, and the Indian authorities, other authorities who own these ships, expressed their frustration about that, and they're calling for negotiation and end of the war. So I don't think it will be dragged for months. I think it will be dragged for weeks, with even its negative consequences on the international community, on the level of economy and politics and security.
Sir, since you've brought up the navigation through the Strait of Hormuz, can you describe, or tell us rather, what is the legal framework for freedom of navigation in international waterways of this magnitude and significance? As we understand, I believe it's Turkey and Denmark who also control the strait in their territorial waters. So what is the current legal framework regarding the Strait of Hormuz right now?
It should be free navigation according to the international laws, the law of sea, and the maritime laws. So Iran clearly violates the international law and the maritime laws. So this case is very clear. Oman is one of the countries on the Hormuz Strait of Hormuz. So Iranian try to blackmail the whole world by doing that. So they're violating the law. But unfortunately, because they have naval mines, they have still capabilities, military capabilities. They can hit any ships going through that without their permission. So the force is the main factor here, not the international law or the maritime law. So maritime law, international law, clearly calling for Iran not to blackmail the world, not to impose tolls on the ships, not to use that for political means. But Iran saying in their defense, according to their spokespersons and their officials, that the Americans started the aggression and they have all the means to use it in order to put pressure on the American to stop this war. So I think Iran thinking the Strait of Hormuz card is very crucial for them in order to put pressure on the American, because when 20% of oil and liquefied gas going through the Strait of Hormuz, so it's affecting the whole world. So Iran knows quite well that's very crucial card in their hand, and they use it very well. It's not legally accepted, it's violating the law, but with the wars, Iran saying if the Americans justifying their war with Israel against Iran, so why not we are doing that? So unfortunately, the voice, the sound of weapons has the upper hand in this situation, unfortunately.
Sir, let's return to the statement signed amongst these 22 countries accusing the Iranian agencies of carrying out assassinations, kidnapping, and other acts of intimidation in Europe, North America, and other places. How serious is this accusation for Iran's international image, and how is Iran taking this accusation?
You know, Iran image is damaged already because they killed their people during demonstrations over the years. They are authoritarian regime. The Revolutionary Guard is controlling everything there. So there is many violation of human rights in Iran and blackmailing the whole world by weaponize the Strait of Hormuz. All of that, it's damaging Iran image. But Iran, it seems they don't care. They don't care about that because Russia and China supporting them. And as far as they can survive and get the enough resources in order to carry on, they will do that. They don't care about their people. They care about the survival of the regime. And usually, like the inflation is very high inside Iran. People are suffering. People died over the recent war and before in demonstration. So the Iran image on the international level is very bad. And even recently, one of the Iranian presenters was stabbed by 3 Romanian gangs. And the police in the UK found that it was by Iranian support. So Iranian using all the means in order to shut all the opposition against it. But at the same time, they don't care. And they are willing to destroy everything in order to survive. So when you face this kind of regime, the only way to tackle that is to reach a deal with them and then try to find a way, maybe on the longer run, to dismantle the Revolutionary Guard in order to help the Iranian to make a revolution against the regime and have like civilized democratic regime. Otherwise, it will be escalation, and the current regime, they don't care about anything but their survival. And as far as this happening, no other means can force the Iranian or can force the current regime to do anything different. So they are defined regarding the resolution of the IAEA, and they are defined about all the accusation against them. And they're saying it is their spies in Iran, they trying to topple the regime. So they have many defenses, but the conclusion is its reputation all over the world is damaged, and they don't care about to beautify it as far as the survival of the regime is their main priority.
Professor, could this statement lead to a new package of sanctions in a security and intelligence dimension, not just sanctions related to nuclear or oil issues?
There are already many sanctions on Iran, and Iran has been through sanctions since long time ago, and they manage to circumvent those sanctions mainly because of the support of Russia and China. They are a big supporter for Iran. Iran managed to sell the oil through the black market, through like mediators. So they manage to live with the sanctions. So they don't care about any more sanctions because they faced that before, and they have like the stamina and the persistence to face more sanctions, because as I told you, they care about the survival of the regime. They don't care about their people. Their people facing many problems. Economy is doing very bad, inflation very bad inside Iran. So if more sanctions, Security Council resolution after that, it will not pass because of the veto will be used by Russia and China. A resolution by the IAEA will not make a difference for them. They will try to say they are cooperative, but the current situation will not allow them to let the inspector to come. And usually with this kind of resolutions, what the Iranians do usually over their history, when they have like a resolution against them, they do either to scale up its cooperation with the IAEA or to enrich more uranium. So this is the only reactions the Iranians do. So it pushed them to be hardline more than to negotiation, unfortunately. So the history, the record shows the more pressure on Iran, the more Iran is stubborn. So I think the best way, I'm not saying not to put pressure on Iran, but with other means, and the pressure will make a difference. But pressure only, sanctions only will not make a big difference. Without the Russian and the China on the side of the American and the West, nothing will change in the foreseeable future.
Now, Professor, can any understanding between the U.S. and Iran hold if it doesn't include any clear guarantees for the Gulf and navigation through the Strait of Hormuz? Because we saw in the first month or month and a half of the conflict, Trump said he can leave the strait closed and it doesn't matter to him. And this has put sort of pressure and strain with the U.S.'s relationship with its allies around the world. On top of that, we've also heard from, I believe, Lockheed Martin saying to its allies of the U.S. that they're not sure when they will retrieve their Patriot missiles, because that decision doesn't fall on them, it falls to the U.S. government. and there may be delays. So how is America going to balance their relations with their allies at the same time making a deal with Iran that benefits not just both sides, but all parties involved?
I think the Americans should not put everything in one package. And this was the Iranian proposal at the beginning, but the American president said he was happy to do that, but then he changed his mind, as usually he does. You know, he make what it seems contradictory statement about, we are close to the deal, no, there is no deal. Iranians are too slow, no, Iranians are, there is a progress. So there is many contradictory statements from the American President Donald Trump. But the president is under immense pressure because
Hello, Professor. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it seems that we're having some technical difficulties, but we'll take a short break and we'll rejoin our guest, Professor, I believe it is Professor Dr. Sayed Shehata, a professor of international relations at the University of London.
جمعية الهلال الأحمر الكويتي جاهزيتها للاستجابة للطوارئ والكوارث في ظل الأوضاع الجيوسياسية الحاصلة في المنطقة. جمعية الهلال الأحمر الكويتي تعمل من ضمن منظومة إنسانية متكاملة مع مؤسسات دولة الكويت من حيث الاستجابة السريعة وتجهيز المتطوعين من ضمن أفرقة مختلفة للاستجابة للطوارئ في سرعة قصوى. يعد متطوعين جمعية الهلال الأحمر الكويتي من المتطوعين اللي تم تدريبهم مكثفاً في الإسعافات الأولية والاستجابة للكوارث والاستجابة الميدانية. تؤكد جمعية الهلال الأحمر الكويتي جاهزيتها الميدانية ورفع جاهزيتها من حيث الاستجابة للطوارئ في حالات اللي يتم ندائها. بالنسبة للمخزون الاستراتيجي لجمعية الهلال الأحمر الكويتي فإحنا على أتم الاستعداد للاستجابة في حال النداء من قبل مؤسسات حكومة دولة الكويت.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Now we'll be rejoined with Dr. Sayed Shehata, a professor of international relations at the University of London. Professor, we'll move on to the next question here. How does Europe view any interim agreement based on the release of Iranian funds in exchange for a temporary truce?
I think Americans should give Iran something. Iran will not open the Strait of Hormuz, will submit everything to the American without anything in return, and this is a negotiation. So I think the Americans should provide Iran with some incentives to agree on any deal. So just giving them their frozen money back or the assets. So you try to encourage the Iranian to do a deal. So without that, I think Iran, as I said, you will lose nothing because they are stubborn. The survival of the current regime is a priority. So they don't care. And as far as the Russian and the Chinese supporting them, so they are feeling stronger and backed by these two big powers, especially China. So the American should give them something. They will talk about these frozen assets to be released and other incentives to lift some sanctions on Iranian in order to reach a deal. So the American should make something. And as I said, you should not make everything in a package. You can make the nuclear program on a second stage. So within the first stage, you give Iranians some money, the frozen assets, in return for the opening the Strait of Hormuz and the lifting the American blockade on the Iranian ports. So this is a way to move forward. Then within this first stage, they can discuss the nuclear program. And the Iranians said before, they are not seeking a nuclear weapons. They are seeking nuclear program for peaceful means. There is some suspicion about that. But if the IAEA will do the inspection with the support of the international community, I think, why not to do that? So you should make steps. And we talked before about 30 days where the opening Strait of Hormuz and the lifting the blockade of the American blockade on the Iranian ports. Then within the 30 days, we'll talk about the nuclear program. So there is many ways to do that, but you can't put everything in one package in order to move forward. And usually negotiation is the art of reaching compromise and middle way. And this is the only way I think the Iranian will accept. Just give them some incentive in order to relieve the world from the disastrous ramifications of the current situation, because still the world didn't see yet the whole magnitude of the influence of the Iranian war or the closure of Strait of Hormuz. So we need to move forward. We need to move quick, And the only way to do that is to make steps in order to reach interim deal, and then the long-lasting deal after that.
Professor, if I'm not mistaken, what you're describing is the Iranian negotiations framework, to split the negotiations into several phases and leaving the nuclear file near the end, because that is the most sensitive and significant issue between the US and Iran. And in terms of the frozen sanctions, the frozen assets and funds, could you speak to us about a report we've seen in the last 2 days about $3 billion being released to Iran? Is there any credibility or confirmation on this story?
No, I don't have any confirmation about that, but if this will happen, I think will be a good incentive. And as I said, the Iranian will cooperate in a way or another regarding the nuclear program. And as it was reported before, and the American responded to that about the 30-day Iranian proposal about to put the nuclear program discussing within the first 30 days. So it is still, you give them some money, you give them, the Iranian will will open the Strait of Hormuz, because the world is stuck, in this big waterway, because it's very important for the international trade and the oil and the gas. So unfortunately, Iran has a big card in their hands, and the war on 28th gave the Iranian this card. It was not before about the Strait of Hormuz to be used by the Iranian, but they found this opportunity. As I said before, is illegal, violating the international law, the maritime laws, but in the war, the Iranian regime justify anything, legally or not, they use it. So the Americans should deal with that, because in any negotiation, if even the Iranians is their condition or their framework to split the negotiation, why not? If you put the safeguard conditions in order to guarantee that the Iranian will do that, otherwise will come back to attack them. So it can be some conditions with the American to make that a middle way. So it can be a middle way. Even the version of the Iranian will not be accepted 100%. The American can put their version, but I think the final version is a compromise. It cannot be the American version or the Iranian version, because after almost more than 3 months, the American mighty power didn't defeat Iran so far. They destroy Iran, yes. They make damage to Iran, yes, but they also damage the international trade, they damage the economy all over the world. It might have be seen the inflation and the other economic, situation happening in the poor countries regarding the food prices. So Iranian, unfortunately, has a big card in their hands, and you need to deal with them very, very carefully. So American can put their version, the Iranian puts their version, but it will be a middle way. And I cannot see everything in one package. It should be a package, but in different stages. And there will be guarantees during the negotiation by the Pakistani, by the Qatari, by other mediators to make Iranian comply with the requirement regarding their nuclear program, because no one wants to see Iran have a nuclear bomb, because according to Grossi, the head of the IAEA, that he said the Iranian stockpile of 440 kilogram of uranium reached by up to 60% can be leading to a 90% for enrichment, and this can be used to produce 10 nuclear bombs. But he said so far, we don't have any evidence of the Iranian, having this nuclear bomb. So all of that. So it's still time to put pressure on the Iranians. There is still time to put pressure on the Iranians to contain their nuclear threat, at the same time to ease the tension. And because the Gulf countries paying too much price for a war, they are not have any hand in it. So they need to have their stability back, because Kuwait, Bahrain, or Jordan, other countries to be struck by Iran, unacceptable, violating the international law. So it needs to be an end. I think the American president should give Iranian some incentive, not to submitting to all the Iranian demands, but to reach a middle way. So there is time to have a middle way, and the American president have a lot of pressure on him before the midterm election in November. So there is pressure on the Mr. Trump, and there is a way through the Pakistani and Qatari. There is Qatari delegation went to Tehran. So there is ways, countries working very hard, tirelessly, in order to reach a deal, in order to make a compromise. So I think that now the American president has the final say to reach a deal or not. The pressure on the Mr. Trump.
Professor, we only have about a minute or two left, so I'd like to ask you this final question. What do you believe is the most important international indicator that we'll see in the coming hours or days? Will it be a UN Security Council resolution or action, new sanctions, an Iranian response to the statement signed by 22 countries, or will it be progress in the initial understandings or negotiations?
I think the scenario is more negotiation. I think the sanctions will be delayed to give the time for negotiation to make a difference. So I think the next few days, I think hopefully there is no escalation between Iran and the US militarily, and the negotiation will take its time. And because there is many countries, Pakistan, China, Russia, India, all of them asking for negotiation, asking for end of the conflict. So hopefully the next few days we'll find a new way to try to get the two countries to reach a middle way and the deal, even if like temporary deal, not a long-term deal, in order to end this conflict. But I don't think UN resolution will happen because of the veto of the Russian and the Chinese. Sanction, I think, will be not wise to do sanctions now, because the sanction will not make a difference. So we don't need to put pressure on Iran to move to more hardliner. So I think negotiation is the visible and the wise voice in order to move forward and end the current conflict.
Well, Dr. Shehata, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this interview. I'd just like to thank you for taking the time and joining us for this daily live coverage. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Dr. Saeed Shehata, the Professor of International Relations at the University of London. Now, as we continue our coverage on the 104th day of the escalating conflict between the U.S. and Iran, tensions intensified with a new wave of military actions on both sides. The U.S. Central Command announced that American forces carried out fresh strikes across Iran, targeting key military surveillance systems, communication infrastructure, and air defense sites. Meanwhile, Tehran claimed it launched attacks on U.S. vessels near the strategic Strait of Hormuz, raising concerns over a broader regional escalation and the security of vital global shipping routes. This report has more details.
On the 104th day of the conflict between the United States and Iran, the U.S. Central Command said the U.S. forces launched a new wave of strikes against Iran, while Tehran claimed attacks on U.S. vessels near the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. claimed that the strikes are self-defense measures in response to Iran's unwarranted and continued aggression. CENTCOM said it conducted strikes against Iranian military surveillance capabilities, communications systems, and air defense sites throughout Iran. This comes in after U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth told reporters at CENTCOM headquarters that CENTCOM will be busy at Wednesday night and will launch an offensive against Iran.
CENTCOM, Central Command, will be busy tonight because President Trump said we will be hitting Iran hard, and we will be. Because Iran has a chance to make a good deal, a great deal, to codify what they said they've been willing to do, and they haven't been willing to do it. So, as President Trump said, they've been tapping. You can see when someone's trying to tap on a deal. Instead, they're going to have tap bombs dropping on key facilities in Iran from the United States of America. And that's not because we want to restart anything we don't have to restart. It's because the War Department is prepared to set the terms to ensure that we get the kind of deal President Trump expects.
Earlier in the day, the U.S. State Department announced sanctions on 13 individuals and entities allegedly linked to the Iranian military. The latest strikes came after U.S. President Donald Trump said earlier Wednesday that U.S. forces would continue military action against Iran following attacks launched on Tuesday, after the downing of U.S. Army helicopter that Washington alleges was carried out by Iran. Trump wrote on Truth Social that Iran had taken too long to negotiate a deal and would have to pay the price. In response to U.S. attacks and Trump's threats, Iranian armed forces claimed that Iran will respond to every threat from the United States in a way that is more severe, stronger, and more destructive than ever before. And today, Iran's Revolutionary Guard claimed targeting what it said 18 important U.S. military targets at Ali Salim and Ahmed al-Jaber bases in Kuwait and Sheikh Isa base in Bahrain. The Iranian military explained that it targeted the U.S. Fifth Fleet in Bahrain with various suicide drones in response to U.S. attacks on the south of the country.
بتوجيهات مباشرة ومتابعة حثيثة ومتواصلة من قبل مجلس الوزراء ووزيرة الشؤون الاجتماعية الدكتورة أمثال الحويلة، سارعت وزارة الشؤون إلى وضع الخطط المسبقة التي تهدف من خلالها إلى المحافظة على مستويات المخزون الاستراتيجي من السلع المواد الغذائية والاستهلاكية، ولضمان سلاسة وسهولة تدفقها إلى الأسواق التعاونية. قامت وزارة الشؤون ممثلة بقطاع التعاون بتشكيل 6 فرق ميدانية بواقع فريق لكل محافظة، وذلك للمتابعة اليومية للتأكد من كفاية المخزون الاستراتيجي. إن هذا العمل هو ثمرة تنسيق وتخطيط مسبق مع جهات الدولة المختصة التي وضعت لضمان استدامة الأمن الغذائي في مختلف الأوقات، ودامت الكويت بحفظ الله ورعايته.
And now to discuss Donald Trump's statements, the negotiation process, and the internal American domestic situation, we're joined via Zoom by Abdurrahman Yusuf, a journalist and political analyst who joins us from Washington. Welcome, Mr. Abdurrahman, and thank you for joining us today, sir. Let's begin with our first question. Of course, sir. We'll start with Trump's recent statements that Iran has delayed the negotiations for too long and will pay a price. Is this a negotiation message or tactic, or is the White House preparing the public opinion for broader strikes in this conflict?
Actually, it's both. Mr. Donald Trump now, it seems he's like disappointed from Iran because they haven't like signed for this memorandum of understanding, and he considered them they just manipulate and postpone intentionally for gaining some time to reach the midterm election in the USA. And he said that before, and he said he doesn't care about that. And with this helicopter Apache targeted by like Iranian drones, it seems like for the USA is like Iranian like regimes and leaders are willing to go further with fight and not are serious. They are not serious with the like finalize this deal, and not even deal, even like this memorandum of understanding. Therefore, USA wanted to show in the first strike on Tuesday, DC time zone, that USA will not tolerate with any targeting for the specific like targeting from Iran. And we knew that this helicopter was like operating like help for like some ships and some oil tanks, and like they try to open Strait of Hormuz. And therefore, it seems as well for the USA that Iranian regime, they are like really serious about collapsing and closing the Strait of Hormuz, which is impacted the international energy security for all people, not only the USA. So they wanted to like see that they can take the retaliation or like they can push back hardly. But the strike on Wednesday and this threatening of strike tonight, Thursday DC time zone, it seems like it's like related to a negotiation. Like Pete Hexas yesterday said from Tampa that Florida, he like Iranian, we are willing to negotiate with them to reach out the deal, but we are willing as well to negotiate by bombs. And Donald Trump said to Fox News yesterday night in DC time zone that Iranian, they have two choices whether to sign the deal because it exists and everything is finalized, and or like we will border the strikes and we'll go back to the war. Of course, it's not that clear that Donald Trump and like the army, they are willing to break through into the clean full war as before. Still, that only a theoretical threat, and because yesterday he threatened USA, Iran, and we saw the strike yesterday wasn't that hard as he said, but it was like the second strike in row, and today it's going to be the third one in row. So it seems more than like negotiating a threat, but as well it shows that Donald Trump is disappointed because we reached to the first day of the Soccer World Cup, and Donald Trump hoped before that we can like reach the this deal or like reach this like long for 60 days long truce or like full ceasefire and open Strait of Hormuz. But like now we reached this first day of the World Cup, so he seemed disappointed, and we know that he's going to celebrate his 80 years old birthday on Sunday. So he wanted to have this like relaxing time or like ease time before that, but he put the responsibility on Iranian postponing and manipulating from his perspective, of course. And therefore, we are gonna see another strike today, and we might see on Friday. But it's gonna be limited strike. Like so far, like we don't see any indication that he's going to border this war unless if he implemented his threat by targeting like a civilian infrastructure, or he tried to like control fully like the island of Kharj is a strategic island for Iranian oil and Iranian economy. All of that is still like theoretical threat. We don't know how he's gonna like implement that, because we know like so far we haven't seen any like military deployed inside Iran. And controlling Kharj, like USA, of course, could like destroy Iran fully or destroy this island fully. They have this capability and they have all weapon to do. But like controlling Kharj and using its oil as Venezuela, because he mentioned that in his Truth Social post in the morning. To do that, it's like hard. Like all like expertise here and researchers like said it's need like a high number of soldiers, and they need like military deployment on the land, and this is not gonna be easy, and it might cost USA like not just like money but like souls as well. So like it seems so far it's like an like limited controlled escalation, military escalation, for pushing forward this like this negotiation. And we saw like the Qatari like a delegation, they went Iran, trying to convince them to have like a direct or semi-direct like meeting with the USA diplomacy, like but like US diplomacy like leaders like Witkoff and others, but like Iranian rejected that, refused. So like it seems like USA tried to use a hard way for convincing Iranian by going forward with this deal.
Mr. Abdulrahman, can you explain to us how the contradiction that we're seeing from Trump is being interpreted in Washington? Because at one point he'll have rhetoric and messaging indicating one thing, but then his actions will indicate escalation. In fact, even in the last week or 10 days, we've seen him soften his tone with Iran and specifically the Ayatollah. And now this contradicts his previous statement from the first month or two of the war that the Ayatollah was killed in an earlier attack. So how is this contradiction being interpreted in Washington?
We know, of course, that like Donald Trump, he's well known even among American, that he is very contradicted person. And like for instance, CNN yesterday mentioned that Trump said like for 37 times that we will have a deal next days. Like this sentence, like we will have a deal next days. Donald Trump repeated it like for 37 times, according to the CNN. But Donald Trump tried to use his cards. He acts as an investor. He had like a book. He composed a book, or wrote a book. It's called like The Art of Deals.
Yes.
So he tries to use all his cards. He's tried to use soften rhetoric, soften discourse, and he as well use a threatening. And we saw sometimes he takes a threat to the like the end. Like he threatened before Iran to destroy all the civilization, which is like of course insane. Insane threat, and it's like no one accepted it, even like most of his allies, because he can say destroy regime. Like it is understandable during the war, but like destroy full civilization, it seems like barbaric for some people. So he got some pushback, and he hasn't repeated it. At all. But as we see, like he can use the maximum of threat for just putting pressure. he doesn't mean most of what he says, because like practically it's hard to apply. So Donald Trump using multiple cards, and again he disappointed because like Iranian seems Iranian seem for him that they are like manipulate him, like they try to postpone intentionally without any purpose, try to maximize everything that they can get from the first step, not with the real negotiation in the 60 days. This is perspective. So he feel that he was manipulated by Iranian. So he has some anger, of course. It's not just only like practical, logical, rational anger, but part of it is like personal, because he, as you said, he tried to use soften discourse. He tried to find a way by postponing negotiation around the high enrichment uranium. We know that the high enrichment uranium, it was a part of at the beginning negotiation, but now it's like postponed to these 60 days. And of course, what thing that he doesn't talk about it is Lebanon. Like Iranian is like make it more complicated when they link what happened in Lebanon with what happened in Iran. And of course, Donald Trump doesn't have that fully control on Lebanon because it's a complicated situation in Lebanon. So therefore, seems as well not only the money or like cash flow that Iran wants. You know, when Iran, they have like $24 billion as a cash flow in banks, and they are freezed. And they wanted like around 12 billion of them. USA is not willing to give like this half of them, 50%, before any giving back from Iranian. So this, it seems, at the on the top of the complicating the situation. But the Lebanon as well, Lebanon issue is like more complicated because it's like related to other parties. So Donald Trump, of course, now he's saying like something like it seems like contradicted in his discourse, but like at the end of the day, what we see at what we experienced from this 40 days war, that Donald Trump is not insane when he and his team, they are not that insane when they implemented their plan, because as I said, like he said, like we're gonna hit Iran, strikes Iran like harder than before, and it seems it's still same. Like only one accusation from Iran, this about the like water station in Tuesday, but the USA hasn't recognized that. But like other than that, all strikes like targeted the military infrastructure, some radar, some controlling military controlling stations or camps, and some defense defense system, something like that. If we saw any like hitting for infrastructure, because like along for 40 days war, we haven't seen USA targeted like any like water station or electricity like infrastructure or something, just only couple bridges. So USA so far, they are going to the like regular war, try to, of course, the school in Menab that happened. Of course, USA said it happened intentionally, and like they denied that they really wanted to target a school, but still it's in their record. Therefore, but like overall, like 90%, 95% of USA strikes, it's like still we can say under control. It's not that insane. It's not that crazy. It's still a war. Regardless, it's like legitimate war or not legitimate war, but like still they targeting military infrastructure. If Donald Trump really wanted to go for like an insane or like an unpredictable target, like he will like allow the army to target the civilian infrastructure, specifically water, energy, power outlet, and etc. And this is going to be like a dramatic change in this war. But so far, it's like what he said in threat is like seems for negotiation, for terrifying Iranian or something like that. But in implementation, it seems so far that doesn't want to go for the full war, back to the full war.
Mr. Abdulrahman, Trump has announced a secret mission to escort around 200 commercial vessels or 100 million barrels of oil through the Strait of Hormuz. However, none of this information has been verified by any other news sources or outlets. Will this create, or does this create, a credibility problem for the president? And the announcement of a secret mission sounds contradictory to it being a secret mission. So is this announcement for Washington, for Tehran? Is it for the markets and oil prices? What was the idea or the intention behind this announcement?
The beginning is the market. Yesterday, the inflation in the USA reached 4.2. It used to, before the war, like 2.4, and then 3.3, and then 3.8, and now it's 4.2. It's going to be like soon maybe 4.8. And that is like really high inflation. And even though Donald Trump reactions and response wasn't that good, he said, "I love inflation," which is like, seems like he mocked the
regular American citizens.
Exactly. And like Bernie Sanders pushed back, and like he highlighted, and many others highlighted on this, and some Republican members in Congress, in the Senate or representatives, they mentioned that like the ordinary people, like the regular American citizens, they are suffering from the price. So they started to raise their voice. They can remain silent for any other thing, but with the price, with the economy, with what the like parents bring in the table at the dinner for their kids, it's like it's very hard to justify it for people. So Donald Trump, of course, wanted to intentionally to reveal this, what he called, and Pete Hexas called, is like secret mission or secret executive order, that it's to the people that like the gas price is going to be lower soon, and we facilitate the international economy by utilize our like strong and powerful army to help people to like pass, or like pass their vessels, or like their ship, or like their trade. But we know it used to be 1,000 vessels and ship and tanks go through the Strait of Hormuz before the war. So 200 during like in 1 month, it's nothing almost. And 100 million barrel of petroleum, or like oil or gas, is still as well. It's not that big number in 1 month. And of course, he like put his allies in imprisonment situation, because after the first day of the Freedom Project, like we know many allies in Gulf State, they said like they rejected it because they don't want any escalation. So when he do that, like we did that secretly, that means like you not only manipulated like Iranian, but like as well you manipulated, or like you lied to your allies. And like we know Iran, like unfortunately, when they respond mostly like little bit like American military base in the region, but like they targeting infrastructure in Gulf states. So like USA doesn't pay that cost directly. So why to risk this like this situation? And
Mr. Abdurrahman, we only have a few minutes left in our coverage, so we must ask you this final question, sir. What scenario do you believe is most likely to come from Washington in the coming hours or days? Will it be a new strike, or a temporary understanding and a resumption or intensification of the negotiation, or perhaps a combination of both?
Combination of both, but like Donald Trump will keep these limited strikes ongoing, unless to find a way to like put pressure and like harm the Iranian regime. But like so far there is no any indication for the full war, unless, because we are in the age, like they both play this like age game, and like they play high risk game together. But so far, if the USA military targeting kept like yesterday and Tuesday, I think we will not go for any full war, and the negotiation will continue. And Donald Trump, if he went to the like strikes infrastructure, or try to control Harsh Island, I think we will go to the full war in this time.
Well, Mr. Abdurrahman, I'd like to thank you once again for taking the time and joining us in our daily live coverage. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Abdurrahman Yusuf, a journalist and political analyst from Washington, D.C. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, we'll conclude our live coverage for this afternoon, but the developments remain open on multiple fronts. Here on KTV2, we'll continue our daily coverages, bringing you all the latest updates and developments from Kuwait, the region, and the wider world. We also like to invite you to tune in to our main news bulletin at 7 p.m., where we'll provide you with the latest developments, reports, and other news stories from the region and the globe. That said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching and have a good day.